Hello and welcome to Clay Creators. Today we are going to be working on a Key Stage 1 Christmas pudding. Hopefully we can get your model looking like this. And we are going to need our measuring spoons, creator cards and tools, our parts of clay, and if possible an airtight container. Just in case you're pausing the video, stopping the video at any point, it'll help keep the clay fresh during the build. Okay, we're going to get started though. I'm going to start by building or mixing the main part of the Christmas pudding, the actual body of it, which is going to be brown. So we're going to need our measuring spoons, and we're going to need our yellow, red, blue and black pots of clay. Okay, so starting with yellow, first of all, we are going to measure out a number 5 and a number 3 spoon. Remember, when you are measuring out on your spoons, you need it to be nice and level across the top. So like I say, a number 5 and a number 3. So nice and level across the top. Just like that. Okay, so number 5 and a number 3. And once you've done that, put the rest of your yellow clay away. Keep it nice and fresh for later on. Okay, on to the blue. Blue is measured out through the spoons again. It's going to be a number 2 spoon. Number 2 spoon of blue. Again, nice and level across the top. And away again afterwards. Red is measured out number 3 and a number 1. So number 3 spoon. And a number 1. And then finally we're going to add a touch of black just to kind of really darken the brown. There we go. So, oops. Finally, it's only a little bit of black, like I say. We're going to go onto our creator card and we're going to use the 1 centimeter circle. So remember, when you're using your creator cards, we are taking measurements in ball shape. So we're not squishing these down, we're not flattening them. They are rolled into roughly a ball, and when you place them on the card, you still need to be able to see the outline of the circle. So this is too big, so I'm going to take a little off, roll it back into a ball, put it back on top, maybe a touch too big again, take a little bit more off. And now we're set. So they're my 4 measurements. I'm going to mix those together and that will give us that dark brown that we were talking about. Okay, so put them all together and give them a good mix. Make sure all the colours blend and there's nothing showing of any colour. Once you've got that, you should have colour roughly like this. Okay. Now this will be pretty much all the clay you need for the Christmas pudding. You can just go straight on with that, but if you measure out 2 number 5s of this brown, so number 5 and a number 5, it will leave you with a little bit of spare to work with. So if you go with the 2 number 5s, and we'll use that as the actual build, and we'll save this for free play or anything extra you want to do at the end. So my 2 number 5s I'm going to put together, give them a good stretch, roll them into a starter position, and the starter position we want is a nice smooth round ball. So I'm going to use my hands to roll them together. You can use the workstation in front of you, your work surface, whatever works best for you to get a nice smooth round ball. Okay. Once you've got that, that is the start of your Christmas pudding really. So as it sits there, it's going to dry and it's going to kind of get a little bit of a flatter bottom, but that's fine. It's not a problem at all. Now what you can do later on, when we add the item, which is what we're going to do next, the white part on the top, you could flip it over, but as the clay dries, it's always going to dry with a little bit of a flatter bottom anyway, but that's good for basically keeping it still. When you do use it later on, it will have kind of a spot for it to sit on. So I'm just going to put that to the side for the time being. Don't need to put it away because we're going to add to it pretty much straight away. Okay, so if we can get a white now, and we can measure out a number 3 spoon. of white. And then again, rest of your white away. Give that a little stretch, and then roll it back into that starting position, the nice smooth round ball. Now the good bit about this decoration is it doesn't have to be exact or perfectly measured out, okay? All we're going to do, we're going to flatten this out, and we're going to kind of give it wavy, wobbly lines around the outside, okay? And there's no right or wrong with those lines, which is the good thing, or the wavy parts. So from the ball, all I'm going to do, I'm going to gently press down, try and keep it flat, even, so I'm not pressing down in one spot, trying to keep it even all the way through so it's not too wobbly. Okay, so I'm going to keep it roughly a circle. Like I say, it doesn't have to be perfectly circular as a disc. I'm going to keep turning it over, let the workstation give it a nice flat surface. Now if you look at it now, kind of that thick. I'm going to carry on making it a little bit thinner, because if you put it over it, you'd still see that it's maybe a little bit thick to look proper. So I'm going to carry on pressing a little bit. But before we go too much further, I'm going to start to give it that kind of decoration now, or the shaping that we want, okay? So I've pressed it down. My circle now is around about 4 centimeters on the measuring on the creator card. So if you put it in, you can just about be size of the 4 centimeter. I know you can't really see there. So all we're going to do now is, like I said, give it that wavy effect around the outside. And again, not too tricky. All I'm going to do is gently press in certain areas. So I've just pressed in slightly there. I'm going to just press in slightly around the corner a little bit, and again, and again. So you can see now I've just got kind of a little wobbly effect. So the points that are sticking out, all I'm going to do is pull them very gently. I'm going to grab and gently pull away just the bits that are sticking out a little bit. Not pulling too hard, just very gently pulling. And you can see that we're starting to get that kind of wobbly effect, okay? So again, I might go back, press down a little bit more, flatten out, but now I want those outside bits to really start to kind of stand out. So keep pulling. Now it's starting to get kind of thin, so the edges are going to be thin. We now should have something that's starting to arch over itself. So if I put it like this, you can see that it's kind of, because it's getting thin, it's starting to droop. So that's the sort of shape I've got right now. Again, yours might be slightly different. It's going to be absolutely fine. Then all we do, place it right in the middle on the top and let it kind of droop over, okay? As it droops over, just give it a gentle press down and shape it around the Christmas pudding. Don't press on too much, you don't want to change the shape of the pudding. It should have a nice droopy effect, oops, over the top of the pudding, okay? Like I said, there's no right or wrong there, everyone's going to get slightly different effects there. As long as you've got a little bit of decoration over the top, that is what we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to move on to the little berries now, and then finally the holly leaves on the top. So again, I'm just going to leave that on the side for the time being. We're going to go with the berries. We're going to get our red clay. And this time we're going to measure out a number 1 spoon. So just a small amount of red. And what we're going to do with this number 1 spoon, we're going to split that into 3 even balls, okay? So again, it doesn't have to be exact, it doesn't have to be perfect. You could do this using a tool, you could just use your fingers. I'm going to just use my finger. I'm going to roughly snap, and then snap again, and roll them roughly into little balls. If they are about right, which they are, surprisingly, don't have to be perfect. Like I say, could have a slightly smaller one, as long as there's 3 little balls that you can roll together and have as the berries, okay? So I'm going to kind of put them in a triangle shape, okay? So if you see on that one, kind of a little triangle. So I'm going to do the same with these ones. So just gently put them together. Don't press them too much, they'll stick to each other. You don't need to press too hard. You just want to have them sticking together, like so. And then place that on the very top in the middle. Again, don't press on too hard, just give it a gentle press. You don't want to change the shape. You should now have that sort of effect. Okay? Again, if you're pausing the video, you may want to put this away into the airtight container. I'm going to carry straight on. I'm going to go straight on to the mixing of the green, okay? So the green mixed is using yellow and blue. I'm going to use our creator card for this one. We're not going to use our spoons, okay? So using the card yellow clay, we are going to do 2 number 1 centimeters. So again, little balls that we're going to measure out. So a number 1 centimeter and another 1 centimeter measurement. A little bit more on that one. So not a lot of clay. We don't need too much for this part. Okay. And a tiny bit of blue clay. So you use the 0.5, so the smaller measurement, so an even smaller ball. And that is all we're going to need for the mix of the green. So give them a mix through and get our green there. Now if you've made a very small bit of blue measurement, you're going to get a very light green. Mine's pretty light, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a touch, just a little bit more blue. Don't want to add too much too quick, so just a smidge. Darken that up a little bit more. That's a bit better. Okay. Once you have your green, we are going to do the, like say, those little green leaves. Now there's a little bit of shaping with your hands, kind of get the shape of the leaf. But the leaves are, again, 1 centimeter measurement. So there may be a little bit left over. When you put these on, you are pretty much 1 centimeter twice here. Okay, so we want the leaf to be thin. If you can see it on here, they're kind of pretty thin, but they have a shape and a point at the end. Okay, now you may want to just do a kind of a normal leaf sort of shape, or you can try and make these ones the holly kind of shape that we're going to try and do here. Okay, so all I'm going to do from that nice smooth round starting position, nice round ball that we normally do, I'm going to roll at one end, okay, to kind of make it more of a cone rather than a ball. So I've just got one end. It's looking a little bit like a teardrop or a pear. So a pointy end and then a bigger end. Okay, I'm going to press them down, flatten them out now. Okay. Now this is the tricky bit, the shaping part. Okay. So once you've done that, the bigger end, the thicker end, needs to kind of have a little point in the very tip. So it's a little bit tricky, but I've just pinched that end, and hopefully you can see that I've got, this is the end that will go into the berries, and now I've got the other end. It's kind of a little point, okay? So I'm just going to sharpen up the other edges here. Again, a little bit tricky, you may have to have a couple of goes. You'll be very delicate with the other hands. Once you've got that shape, all I'm going to do, give it a little detail, do a couple of veins down and then across, making it look a little bit leafy. And that's the sort of shape we are going for. So same again on the other one, little pinch, and then sharpen up the edges. Once you've got your two leaves, the thin pointier ends just go in on the sides of the berries. as it joins the Christmas pudding. You should now have something that looks like this. Now, all we need to do now is add a little bit of decoration. It's basically like the dried fruit that's within, like the sultanas or the raisins. So all we're going to do there are tiny little pinches of black, okay? So when I say tiny little pinches, I do mean really, really tiny. So I'm going to take a 0.5 measurement, roughly, and I'm just going to cut and make them really, really small. They don't have to be the same size, but I find the smaller, the better. So the lots of tiny little ones will be better than a few big ones, but you can do them random. They don't have to all be, let's say, all be the same. I'm just going to chop in, and then, like I say, just randomly place them around the Christmas pudding for the decoration. Okay, so I'm not going to do the whole Christmas pudding at the moment. I'm just going to go a little bit at the front here so you can see. And again, like I said, just complete random little dots all the way around. So you should end up with that sort of effect. You can get that all the way around the Christmas pudding. Okay, so I will finish that off in a moment. Finish that decoration off. Hopefully you have something that looks something like this. Again, nice Christmas pudding for your decorations. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us. It's time for a little bit of free play. If you want to build alongside, maybe do another, we've still got a little bit of brown there for you to use. Other than that, free play time, it's normally 5 measurements of a number 3 spoon of every colour. You can mix and max out whether you want to just use a couple of colours, but that's normally the measurements for our free play. And if you are running low on clay, please head over to the Clay Creator shop, so www.claycreators.com/shop to place an order for more clay. And again, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.